En este video quiero compartir con ustedes cómo aprendería español si tuviera la oportunidad de empezar de nuevo. Entonces ya sé que recién estén comenzando su viaje o estén buscando nuevas estrategias para mejorar sus habilidades lingüísticas, este video les resultará útil. Switching to English, let's begin with the first thing I would do. I would speak from day one. I would say not just speaking from day one, but also recording my progress. Because one of the most common complaints when it comes to language learning is that people say that they are not improving or they feel like they're not improving. And so if you record your progress, you have all of those videos or maybe your journal entries to look back on and think, have I actually made progress? And the answer is probably going to be yes, especially if you practice the language consistently. I would make a lot more videos of myself during my lessons with my Spanish teacher because right now this is something that I'm trying to do almost every single time, but I feel like when I was first beginning my journey, I didn't do it every single time because I thought that, my Spanish is not too good, so like why would I do it now? But now I kind of regret it because I have just a few videos of me speaking Spanish at the very beginning of my journey, and it would be so cool for me to watch all of those videos at the very beginning and think, wow, my Spanish has definitely improved. And yes, I would start speaking from day one, even if all I knew how to say was, hello, my name is Veronika, because I think especially for my language goals, it was important. But, like a lot of people out there, at the very beginning, I was focused a lot on input, which is great. Focusing on input is important too. But at least, creating some sentences about your life to kind of turn all of this input into output a little bit. Just speaking about myself, how old I am, where I live, again, my family, for example, my parents, something super basic. And recording myself, like those two things, speaking from the very beginning and recording myself speaking from the very beginning. Yeah, I feel like if you guys implement those strategies right now, you will thank me a lot later because in a year, you're gonna have this visual library of your progress. And every time you think you're not improving, you can watch all of those videos and see, wow, like a year ago, my Spanish was a lot worse and now it's a lot better. A great app that can help you start speaking Spanish from day one is Jumpspeak. Jumpspeak is an amazing AI-powered language app that can help you learn Spanish and a lot of other foreign languages by speaking from day one. Exactly what I would recommend you do. This app is built on a very effective immersion method based on studies like the learning pyramid. So now let me walk you through how you can practice listening, writing, speaking, and conversation on the Jumpspeak app. Let's begin with the listening part.
Felicidades por tu graduación.
Muchas gracias.
Okay, muchas gracias.
Estoy muy feliz.
Estoy muy feliz. So as you can see, this part really trains your listening in an active way because you have to listen to the audio recording and then choose the correct answer. When you're done with the listening, you can begin the writing part.
Felicidades por tu graduación.
Muchas gracias. Muchas gracias. Estoy muy feliz.
Muy feliz.
Estoy muy feliz.
So here you're practicing what you just listened to, but you have to write the answers. And it's especially useful for like those little parts like el sábado por la tarde, because it will help you memorize some grammatical structures in an active way. Now let's move on to speaking.
De todos modos tienes que venir.
De todos modos tienes que venir. This part is all about making sure you know how to pronounce words correctly. And finally, the conversation part.
Felicidades por tu graduación.
Muchas gracias. Estoy muy feliz. You have to engage with the app, everything happens super fast, and you improve your conversational skills. Now let's take a look at their AI tutor, where you can have free-flow role-play conversations and get instant feedback on your vocabulary and grammar. Let's say I want to talk about food and drinks, probably about coffee shops.
¿Quieres alguna cosa extra en tu cappuccino?
¿Quiera un gallete?
¿De qué sabor te gustaría la galleta?
Here I made a mistake on purpose just to show you how the app corrects corrects you. So even if you don't know how to pronounce a specific word, or maybe you're not sure about this verb conjugation, let's say, Jumpspeak is going to help you and correct you. If you use my link below and download Jumpspeak, you'll be able to learn 20 languages with just one subscription. If something comes up and you realize that the app isn't a good fit for you, they offer a 100-day risk-free trial where you'll get your money back if you're not 100% satisfied. I think it's a great app, so make sure to check it out. And thank you so much to Jumpspeak for sponsoring a portion of this video. The next thing that I would do more if I could start learning Spanish from the very beginning is definitely surrounding myself with Spanish a lot more. If you can't believe it, I wasn't really surrounding myself with Spanish at the very beginning, like at all. You know, every single time I would have a class, yes, I would talk to my teacher, but that was it. Because maybe I wasn't motivated enough, or I didn't have this like passion for learning Spanish, and I couldn't really find it. Only after I looked at my values, I was able to find that spark to learn Spanish again. And plus, as a person who has this history of learning English for many years, I was also learning Chinese in college. I was honestly kind of tired, like exhausted when it came to learning another foreign language, and at the very beginning I was definitely surrounding myself more with English or Russian, my native language. So here what I would do from the very beginning is definitely surround myself with content that I found interesting. Because when this happens, you naturally pick up on this specific vocabulary that you personally need in your life. And that's why a lot of people say that, you know, you don't even need to focus on memorizing the most common words in this language, because it will happen naturally if you surround yourself with the language, with the content that you like, the content that is connected to your life or to everyday life in general. This way you'll build your own personal vocabulary and you will learn all the words that you need in your life. A few days ago, I started watching a lot of videos in Spanish about swimming and swimming styles. I don't know why. I guess I'm just interested in sports, and I was like, let me watch some videos about swimming in Spanish. And so because of that, I naturally learned a lot of new vocabulary, because I was exposing myself to all this content about swimming. Of course, I had to, write down some words, like look up the translation, maybe add those words into Anki, but I was already in the environment, so learning happened a lot easier for me. The next thing I would do if I could start learning Spanish from the very beginning is definitely learning more things about the culture, because the culture is a part of the language. Of course, you are going to be learning more and more cultural things later on, but I would honestly do it from the very beginning, because this way it can also make it more interesting for you to learn the language. And yeah, because we're choosing to learn things about the culture, it's maybe easier. I don't want to say better, it really depends on you, but it's easier to focus on one country and one accent only at the very beginning, again, because there are so many new things you have to learn. Like, the language kind of hits you and you sit down, you're like, whoa, like there's so many things I don't know, vocabulary, grammar, cultural aspects. So let me just focus on one accent at the very beginning. For me, it is Mexican Spanish. Of course, one day in the future, you are gonna wanna expose yourself to videos in Spanish from Spain or Spanish from Argentina or Colombia, but it doesn't have to be, on your first day. You can ask ChatGPT for the school prompt, and I'm gonna leave the link to it in the description as well. So something like this: I'm learning Spanish and I wanna learn about all the cultural things like movies, shows, songs, artists, etc. that every single Mexican person grows up with. Create a list for me. So here we have some of the most famous movies, TV shows, songs, and artists, and books, and authors that a lot of people know here in Mexico. And if I watch those movies or listen to those songs, I know that it's gonna make it easier for me to talk to my Mexican friends, because they obviously use a lot of cultural references, and it's completely normal. Like, in every single culture, people use cultural references. And as a language learner, when you're able to understand those jokes or references or the names of those artists, let's say, it just makes you feel so good. The next thing I would do is I would organize my study sessions a lot better, because I know for many of you guys watching this video, it's true as well. When I first started learning Spanish, I didn't really have a good system to organize all of the materials I was using, like all of the YouTube channels I was subscribed to, all of the grammar resources I was using, maybe some other books I was reading in Spanish. Like, it was all a mess. I had a lot of notebooks, one notebook for this, one notebook for that. It was not organized at all. And I think because of that, I would often lose a lot of the words that I wanted to memorize because I would just forget where I wrote them down. Yeah, I know. And so ever since I started using Notion, I always knew that I wanted to transfer all of my language learning there, and I wanted to make it look more organized. And so I created a Notion template for language learners, and you can check it out by clicking the link in the description. It has a huge database for all of the languages you're learning. If you're just learning Spanish or one language, it's totally fine. You can just delete all of the other languages and use one page for Spanish. Everything is organized into your goals, your resources, and your vocabulary. And this way, you don't have to use a bunch of notebooks, or you don't have to feel like, oh my God, I lost the specific word I wanted to memorize. No, because everything is going to be on Notion. And this will help you make progress faster at the very beginning. You guys know that over the years, Notion has really turned into my second brain. Like, I do everything on Notion. I plan my work, I plan my downtime, I plan my language learning there, absolutely everything. And I think staying organized from the very beginning of your language journey will benefit you a lot eventually when you start using a lot more resources, when you start memorizing more and more words. Having everything in one place is just so convenient. And finally, what I would do if I could start over my whole Spanish learning journey is I would only learn grammar when needed. To be honest, I think from the very beginning, like from the very beginning of my Spanish journey, I was not very good when it came to learning grammar, only when I needed to learn those new grammar rules, because I thought that I had to memorize everything fast, like all the grammar rules, to be able to speak and speak correctly as soon as possible. But then what happened is I was just overwhelmed, because for me the grammar in Spanish was kind of difficult, like all the verb conjugations and stuff like that. I was just like, no, why is it so hard? And so when I started focusing more on acquiring the language in a more natural way, instead of just cramming all the grammar rules into my brain mindlessly, I definitely became a lot happier. I got rid of a lot of the grammar resources I was using because they were just distracting me. They were distracting me from acquiring the language in the most natural way possible. Because again, at the very beginning, I didn't have the goal of like, you know, I have to take this Spanish test, or I wanna like study in Mexico in Spanish. No, I was learning Spanish for myself. And especially for you, if you don't have this concrete goal of, oh, I need to take TOEFL in English or IELTS in English, or you know, you're just learning the language because you have to learn the language, acquiring it in the most natural way possible will help you a lot, because it will make you less stressed. Sometimes our brains get tired and we just can't understand a certain grammar rule at this point in life, and it's absolutely okay. So I definitely wait for the moment where you think that, okay, now I'm ready to learn this grammar rule, and only this grammar rule. I can see people using this grammar rule when I watch TV shows, when I watch YouTube videos, and I am finally ready to learn every single little part of it so that I know how to use it 100% correctly. Because you know, sometimes there are a lot of exceptions, for example, and maybe you are familiar with this grammar rule, but maybe you're not familiar with all of the exceptions. So I think it's going to be it for this video. If you liked it, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Make sure to check out Jumpspeak by clicking the link in the description and learning Spanish in an active way. If you want to see my full guide to learning Spanish, everything I did, all the resources that worked for me, make sure to click right here and check out this video. You will enjoy it a lot.